Hello and welcome to this edition of Wineskins. I'm Father Jim Corda. Wineskins is a program that features reflections on the lives of the saints and sacred scriptures, along with a variety of issues and topics, all from a Catholic perspective. Wineskins is brought to you through the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our program today, I will interview Sister Pat McNicholas and Robin Finger on generational poverty. It is part 3 in our television series called Spotlight. We will also hear more information on the life and times of St. Rita of Cassia. And today, as the Church celebrates the 6th Sunday of Easter, we will get a deeper insight into those particular Sunday readings. That and more on Wineskins. Catholic Charities is an important part of the life of the Church and her members. Now I will speak with Jim Tobin from the Ohio Catholic Conference. Joining me now is Jim Tobin, who is the Associate Director for Social Concerns for the Ohio Catholic Conference. Welcome back to Wineskins.
Well, thank you.
We'd like to learn a little bit more about the Ohio Catholic Conference from you, who've been with it for many years, and also in this whole sense of legislation. Why do we have the Ohio Catholic Conference? And tell us a little bit about its history.
Well, thank you. We were founded in 1945, so we do go back. But our official role is to represent the Church of Ohio in public matters before the public, and in particular in the halls of the legislature. So we spend a lot of our time taking all the different issues that the Church is concerned about and carrying them over to the Ohio State House and working with our counterparts at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops at the federal level to try to get a place at the table. I mean, we bring, as Catholics, we bring great moral principles and we bring incredible experiences. So we try to bring that. So our main function is to be over representing all the bishops of Ohio before the General Assembly and to witness that. We also convene the various folks from each of the dioceses. We like to bring them together and we sort of try to solve some problems together. The Catholic superintendents from each of the dioceses meets quite regularly to share and talk about common issues. The social action directors, the Catholic charity directors meet together to try to plan strategies or talk about the different programs that we're doing, and is there ways that we can collaborate, is there ways that we can share. So we have a convening role and we have a representative role.
What I find interesting in this rather complex and complexing world that we live in, that we don't always agree on things. I would imagine that when the Ohio bishops come together, that they come with different ideas and different thoughts. What happens when they don't agree on things? How does that get all worked out? Does that make sense to even talk about something like that?
Generally, we do issues that there is consensus around, and there are a significant number of issues that there are consensus around. Generally, there's always a consensus around the goal. There's not always a consensus over what's the best way, what's the best strategy. And I know we've had some interesting discussions that said, if we're going to promote some legislation, maybe one of the criteria is it implementable? Can it stand? Will the courts allow it? Will some of those kinds of things? So there's different criterias that we look for. But by and large, I think the concept of the issues are big enough. And there's an agreement that says, we've got to care about the unborn. We've got to care about the poor. We've got to care about the immigrant. We got to care about the use of the death penalty in the state of Ohio. So there's some general consensus. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of divergence and disagreement even among what we would call Catholic legislators on those.
And I think that's why I asked the question, because, we as Catholics don't always agree on everything.
Right.
And so it's really important to kind of try to find some common ground that we do agree on, and also look at those important issues that really unite us and not divide us.
That's right.
In your long experience with the conference, what would you like the folks that are with us to know about it specifically, or how can they get to know more about it, and what can they do to participate, maybe not in state level, but even locally in their own polities?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is when we go to the State House, we are only as good as what is happening in the local dioceses and the local parishes. Everything we do is about relationships. When we go over to the State House, we don't have the money, we don't have the political action committees. What we have are principles, and we've got the folks in the parish, and we've got our schools, and we've got our programs. And to the degree that those local representatives, when they see me coming, they said, the conference is here. We know about the work that's happening in our diocese. And so there's access, and that's what we want. We just want the ability, when the time comes, to say, here's what we think you ought to consider. And remember, in these days of saying you got to do it this way are over, and so we've got to come up with, and folks can continue to pray for us as well as offer suggestions on what are some of the best arguments that can make their way so that it becomes a public policy that the state of Ohio can buy into and live with.
And Jim, in closing, can you give us the website of the conference?
Yes. The website is OhioCath, CATH, conf.org. So it's like Ohio Catholic Conference, but shortened there. So come to the website, contact us. There's lots of resources, there's lots of ideas. And again, in the end, we are trying to work for you.
Jim Tobin, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda. Saint Rita of Cassia was a religious woman. To tell us more is Martha Coulter. She is from St. Jude Church in Columbiana.
Patron saint of difficult marriages, impossible causes, infertility, and parenthood, Saint Rita, like Elizabeth Ann Seton, was a wife, mother, widow, and member of a religious community. Her holiness was reflected in every stage of her life. She was born in central Italy in 1381. She wanted to become a nun, but was pressured by her parents to marry. During her 18-year turbulent marriage to a harsh and cruel man, she bore 2 sons. After her husband was killed in a brawl, her 2 sons also died. Eventually, after much persistence, she entered the community of Augustinian nuns in Cascia. Over the years, her austerity, prayerfulness, and charity became legendary. In the midst of chronic illness and visions, when she developed wounds on her forehead, people quickly associated them with the wounds from Christ's crown of thorns. She meditated frequently on the Passion of Christ, and she especially loved taking care of the sick nuns in her order. She died in 1457 at the age of 76. She was beatified in 1626, but was not canonized until 1900. She has acquired the reputation, together with St. Jude, as a saint of impossible cases. Many people visit her tomb each year. Rita has become holy because she made choices that reflected her baptism and her growth as a disciple of Jesus. Through many small choices, she was able to cooperate with God most generously. For Wineskins, I'm Martha Coulter.
We're talking about generational poverty, and with me is Robin and Sister Pat. I'd like to ask Robin to give us a little bit of your experience going to college and the university, what that was like, and then tell us the journey you took to where you are now and the work that you're doing.
When I first went to college, I was worried about, fitting into the campus, and that atmosphere was something that would be new to me.
Sure.
I felt like, I'm going back to school to face another challenge, and I was wondering, was I up to that, and how would I fit in? I'm a little too old to be a college student, but from what Sister Patricia says, it's never too late. So I think what gave me my confidence was my affiliation with Beatitude House. It wasn't as humiliating as I thought that it would be, and then there were other non-trad students that were there. So it made it seem more like I had peers. Mm-hmm. It was difficult at first, not the education part. It's just like everything else that was going on through my mind. And Sister Mary Alice would always say, well, don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about that right now. So because of me being a participant at Beatitude House, I didn't have to worry about what my child was going to eat the next day. Will I be able to have enough time to donate to studying? What is it that I had to cook? How would I pay the bills? Will the lights be on? All of those things matter when you're in pursuit of higher education, because these are things that I was used to dealing with in my everyday life. So with those distractions being resolved, it made it a lot easier to go on this journey. I just graduated with my bachelor's in social work May of last year, and what I went into college, I was undecided as to what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. I never did think of my future in those terms, that I would have a choice in what I would be. So with all the compassion that was given to me, I made the decision to give back. And that's why I went into social work, because of the help that I received through Beatitude House. It made me want to be who they are and who they are to me today in my life. And right now I work with the Ursuline Center, and I'm in the help and profession of social work. I'm able to do outreach through the Sister Jerome's Mission Program. And I'm also able to work with clients and do case management and help the homeless, chronically homeless, get jobs in our Ursuline Sisters HIV and AIDS ministries.
Well, there's something wonderful about giving back. You know, when someone's given to you, and to be able to give back, and how important that is for any of us. If we look at our lives, we've been blessed in so many ways, and some more than others, and those more than others should be giving back more. And so there's that sense that we all have a blessing, we all have a gift, and to give that back is just really thanking the Lord for the blessings He's given us. We want to talk now about the impact of generational poverty on education and literacy. Because that's really important.
Right, and in many ways Robin's the exception to the theory, and mostly because she's inherently very bright and gifted, which is obvious. In general, they say, does every parent want their children to do well? Yes, of course. But translating that into behaviors for people who have been in generational poverty, they've never seen it. So it becomes practical problems. Do your kids go to bed on time so they can get enough sleep? That's just not a value sometimes. It's just missing. They don't know how important that is to education. They don't understand how to read the reports that come from the school often. And so if there's struggles, they don't understand them. They don't read to their children enough. They aren't starting at age 1 reading stories to their children. They don't understand that's important. If the child has a doctor's appointment, it's way too common to miss the whole day of school because the problem of transportation interferes. I can't imagine how I'm going to get to the school, get a bus, get it becomes overwhelming, so they don't go to school. So there's all kinds of obstacles. So the theory, I want a good education, doesn't always translate into practice. And so it's been proven with some great research, what they call the 30 million word gap. It said by age 2, children of poverty, middle class, or wealthy, almost all have the same language development. By age 5, there is a gap of children in poverty have heard 10 million words, not 10 million different words, but they've heard language that much. Children in the middle class have heard 20 million, and children in the upper class have heard 30 million. And that speaking in language and using adjectives and colors and names, so you don't have children coming to school in kindergarten who don't know their colors or don't know. I've had children come to my door. I had a child once knock on the door, 4, could I have a piece of candy? Said, no, but I have some grapes. 5 minutes later, the door rings. Can I have a piece of candy? I said, what'd you do with the grape? He said, I tasted it and I fed it to the squirrel. But he did not know what a grape was.
Yeah. The disparity is troubling sometimes when you think about it. And in this land of opportunity, land of the free, we should not have those things. It's important for us to dispel that and to build bridges so as to make sure that we don't leave anyone in poverty. The one kind of word that I'd like us to close with is that word compassion. We began with the word mercy with Pope Francis. And how does compassion, Robin, in your experience, play into all that we've talked about?
Compassion. Wow. I've been shown compassion coming through Beatitude House. I mean, it was just so overwhelming to me when Sister Betty came and she said, well, we're gonna have Nicholas go to Ursuline. And I'm like, to Ursuline? I said, I can't afford for him to go to Ursuline. And she said, well, don't worry about that. We're going to take care of that. I'm like, you're going to do that for me? I mean, I just found it to be surprising that someone is going to help me go to school and help me with my bills so that I can get better for myself. It just didn't add up because I've never been given that type of compassion. I've never had a support system. I didn't even know of the importance of a support system. So when I found out how important it was to have one and that it was a quality resource, that's when I started developing a support system for my children and trying to be there for them in the ways that I need to be there. When we first came to Beatitude House, my daughters were 10 years old. They aspired to work at McDonald's and work at Save-A-Lot. This was their big dream. What do you want to be when you grow up? Today, when you speak to my 16-year-old daughter, she wished to attend Spelman and she would like to be a lawyer.
Wonderful.
She's asked Sister Patricia, could she shadow or do her internship? Right now, she's going to MCCTC through Boardman for cosmetology. And now she aspires to do something greater than we did coming in.
That's wonderful. And that's the teaching moment. That is sharing what you learned and passing that on, and how important it is for us to pass that on to future generations so they don't get stuck in this cycle.
And I think at a core of that compassion is our belief as Christians in the inherent dignity of every person.
Sister Patricia McNicholas, Robin Finger, our time went by so fast. It was wonderful to talk with both of you and for you to share something so important as this that we talked about today. And God bless you in your future. We know it's very bright. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for all
the
that
invitation.
You do. And thank you for being with us. Have a good day, and God be with you.
For more pertinent information and to listen to Wineskins, visit www.doy.org, the website of the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Every day, in every county of the Diocese of Youngstown, people are searching for help. The hungry are looking for food. The homeless are looking for shelter. Those who are ill are looking for help with prescription medication. And the vulnerable in every corner of our diocese are searching for care and compassion. And every day, that search leads to Catholic Charities. Let's take a look at how Catholic Charities is serving the needy in your county.
Catholic Charities Regional Agency's primary mission is to provide service to people in need through various programs and projects in our service area. In Mahoning County, our office in Youngstown serves the community through multiple programs, primarily focused on basic needs. These programs include emergency financial assistance to prevent evictions or primary utility shutoffs such as heat or water. There are as many as 60 calls a day from people looking for help with a variety of situations. A screening process helps to prioritize and manage the volume of calls to address the most pressing situations. Funding from multiple sources is used to try to meet the demand. In situations where we cannot provide direct help, efforts to link people with other programs in the community is done. First Step, which assists with diapers, formula, and clothing for infants and small children, offers material assistance and case management for families with small children. Linkage to healthcare and other programs is an important component of this program. The Homeless Outreach Program helps place people out of homelessness into shelters, housing, or other programs. Efforts to address the homeless crisis seen in the community is a major program of Catholic Charities in Mahoning County as well.
As Jesus reminds us in the Gospel, the poor you will always have with you. This statement should not discourage us, but rather should challenge us to open our hearts in loving service to our brothers and sisters in need. I want to thank you for your generous support of the 2017 Annual Bishop's Appeal for Catholic Charities and the Church. Your loving commitment to the many programs which serve the poor throughout our diocese is changing lives one family at a time. Thank you, and God bless you.
By the time we can walk, each of us yearns for the joy that comes from being able to do for ourselves. Church World Service believes that being self-reliant is a joy everyone should share. So around the block or around the world, share the joy. Church World Service. 33 million Americans have descended into poverty. And as their futures fall, so does our nation's.
Our song today is from the CD called The 25th Anniversary Collection. It is by the Kellenberg Memorial High School Choir.
He stood high on the mountain and he talked the talk. He went down to the water and he walked the walk. On that Sea of Galilee, he proved to you and me when you talk, you have to walk the walk. He came into the world to spread the word, and the people around him said they heard. But he carried that cross without a friend. To redeem us he walked that walk again. Healed the sick, helped the poor, and set us free. Touched the eyes of the blind and made them see. Fed the masses with just 5 loaves of bread. Walked amongst us when he rose from the dead. He stood high on the mountain and he talked the talk. Oh, he went down to the water and he walked the walk. On that Sea of Galilee, he proved to you and me when you talk, you have to walk the walk. Show the man with the Bible in his hand. It takes more than a slick revival band to convince you to send him in your dues. He'll end up putting on his walking shoes. Those who offer the moon, the stars and sky want your vote and your money for a lie. So they try to impress you with their style, but you know they won't go that extra mile. He stood high on the mountain and he talked the talk. Oh, he went down to the water and he walked the walk. On that Sea of Galilee, he proved to you and me when you talk, you have to walk the walk. Oh, the message he brought came from above. You can conquer the world with peace and love. Ask your brother to help you if you fall, and together you'll both be walking tall. So remember to practice what you preach. Find the tools that you need before you teach. You can be a shining light, bright as the sun, if you first learn to walk before you run. He stood high on the mountain and he talked the talk. He went down to the water and he walked the walk. On that Sea of Galilee, he proved to you and me when you talk, you have to walk the walk. He stood high on the mountain and he talked the talk. Oh, he went down to the water and he walked the walk. On that Sea of Galilee, he proved to you and me when you talk, you have to walk the walk.
As we celebrate the 6th Sunday of Easter, we will hear more about the sacred scriptures by Deacon Jerry Savo. He is from St. Joseph Church in Austintown.
At the Last Supper, Jesus promised his apostles that the Holy Spirit would be with them until the end of times. Looking back now, over almost 2,000 years of church history, we can see how this promise has been fulfilled. There were cries and near catastrophes caused by the human weakness, yet the church survived and spread and continued by the direct aid of the Holy Spirit. During the past 2,000 years, great empires have risen and fallen. They had large armies and vast wealth and earthly resources at their disposal, yet they disintegrated like all things human. The names of one-time mighty men who ruled over millions are now nothing but classroom history lessons. In the midst of all these upheavals, the Church of Christ has continued to flourish because it was directed and sustained by the Holy Spirit who abides within it. The Father has sent His Son among us, and we could become His brothers and adopted sons of the Father. The Son Himself suffered hardships and died, but rose from the dead, knowing only too well the weaknesses which is human nature. He sent the Holy Spirit to remain with His church and its guide. This is a very brief summary of what the Blessed Trinity has done and is continuing to do for us through the church. We, the people of God, the chosen race of the New Testament, are God's church on earth. It is for you and me that the Holy Spirit is at work this very day, when He guides the steps of the church leaders with the teachings of the church. It is for us and for our salvation. While we are faithful members of the Church of Christ, we have nothing to fear. We are on the sure road to heaven to enjoy eternal happiness with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, who we shall thank and glorify forever. For Wineskins, I'm Deacon Jerry Savo.
Jesus, as our leader, knew that a small set of core values had to be maintained and followed if His movement was to survive. We, the Church, must continue to uphold those values and learn the ways of sacrificial love, taking up our cross, washing each other's feet, and living the servant-spirited leadership of our founder, Jesus Christ. Wineskins is a production of CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. It is brought to you by the Annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. I'm your host, Father Jim Corda, wishing you a beautiful week.